Us. Sure. All right. My name is Kim Opaltons. I tweet as WMI guy. I'm frequent presenter at MMS events. I'm here with my colleague Tom de Grief, who equally has been a presenter at quite a few MMS events. The next MMS events, apart from the tips and tricks and everything else we do online, are hopefully MMS 2021 in Minnesota, the Mall of America, and the other one
in Miami. Hopefully, that should be amazing. The Miami Beach edition at the end of 2021. Now, normally when we present in front of a live audience. Due to the whole pandemic thing going on, we don't really have a live audience, but we like to pretend we do, like in those popular sitcoms. So we prepared a few things for that.
So we hired a live audience with us in the room.
And they like to cheer us.
And they like us pretty much.
Must be a European audience. They're a little quieter.
Yeah, they're on the quieter side.
There it is.
Right. Apart from the live audience, Tom and I frequently present with one another.
Unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever. Our typical MMS audience know that there's quite a bit of banter going on when we present together. We were a bit concerned with doing this online, as you don't have the actual context. You're not in the same room. You don't actually see us. So people could misinterpret the banter. So I want to make one thing absolutely clear. Yes, we do dislike each other this much. Just to have that out of the way. And then let's start with our tips and tricks. And I believe our very first tipster is the famous Mr. Gar.
Well, before we go into that, there's one tip or trick I want to share with everybody that might be important for you guys. When somebody's presenting and is showing stuff on screen and you can't see it well, you can actually zoom in yourself. You just click on the screen with the presentation and you hold Control and you scroll up on your mouse, and that will actually zoom in. Now, if that doesn't work for you, there's a magic key combination that will make it work. It's called Alt F4. Try Alt F4 if the previous trick doesn't work, and it's guaranteed to work. That's it.
Over to you, Gar.
Thanks, guys. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Garth Jones, and you'll typically find me hanging out on the Reddit forums or the Facebook forums answering SCCM questions. One of the things that you'll find that I do a lot is answer questions about inventory and reporting. One of the things I see is how people will take a query online or create one, and it will not give them the results that they really should be expecting. So on my screen, you'll see a SQL query. This is a very traditional SQL query that will show you all the software installed within your environment. And when I run this query, what you'll see as I zoom it down to the bottom is that there's 2,000 plus rows. And the other thing I want to show you is, and I'll just drag this up, on row 17, I want to show you that there's a SQL 2007 software update on here. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is this important? And the answer is configuration manager and how computers are deleted. So when you go into the configuration manager console and you delete a computer out of it, what you would expect it to do is to delete all the data associated with that computer. And that doesn't happen. What actually happens is a flag is set on the computer, and that flag says, I'm deleted. A couple of days later, a maintenance task will run and clean out the database of all of that information. So in the meantime, if you're running a query like this, what you'll find is that you're getting data for both active computers and those that are deleted in here. And this is the problem that I'm going to help you solve today. And it really comes down to trust. You want to do it so that your manager trusts the results. So if they ever see results that don't match, this is where the challenge comes in. So to solve that, you go back to your same SQL query and you literally add one line. And that is where you're joining your main query with the R system valid results. So let's see what happens when you run that. If you go down to the bottom, we'll notice that we have well less than 2,000 rows. And that's because we're now filtering out all the deleted computers I have within this little lab. And to show that, as I go to my row 17, you notice that row 17 no longer has the software update for Configuration Manager 2007. It's got the row that is below it. And we can show that by literally taking the two and bring them up and scroll to the top. And we can see going line by line that everything matches until we get to line 16. And we can start seeing that where they match up on line 18 again. And this is where you're getting the proper results that your managers will expect. This is my tip for you is just simply make sure that you have the R system valid to ensure that you get the results that you expect within your queries. Thanks, guys.
And we get a round of applause for the use of Zoom during this session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing, Gar. Well done.
Thank you.
This was the first tip, and one of the tipsters will win a $3,300 laptop.
Kim is gonna deliver it in person.
All right.
Have to
We've
wait
got snow on the ground right now.
Somebody's gonna have to put in an extra effort for me to deliver it in person. All right, who's next? Our next tipster was Amit, I believe. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Amit is here. Let's see, give him just a second here, but I think he's one of two I think I couldn't find. Yeah, nope, we can move on. And Amit, if you're there, ping me and we'll put you back in the lineup.
Then I believe Merlin is next, or Merlin as we pronounce it.
As you wish. Hey, I wasn't expecting to be first, no, second, then first, and then whatever. That's all right. I'm ready.
Surprise.
You're
right.
coming right after Guard. Whether that's a benefit is something you have to make up.
Let's say it's a hard spot to fill. So let's share the screen. Let's get into this. Hey, so I'm Merlin, by the way. Merlin van Weyenbergen, or Merlin from Belgium. That's how you'll find me on stuff like Twitter. I have been a presenter at multiple events. Was supposed to be at MMS 2020, and then San Diego as well. Didn't make it for some reason. But here we are. This is the second time I'm doing a.
It was fun though. You should have come.
Well, I'm sorry I missed it. Should tell me all about it after. Don't steal my 4 minutes. Just joking. So hey, this is my second tip and trick for this session. And what I'd like to show you today is something that I've learned over the years of being a consultant. So being at more than one customer and visiting 1 week and then probably not coming back for some time. When I have to jump back in and figure out what I was doing with a particular task sequence, sometimes it's pretty hard to keep track. I don't know if you've been in that position, but I started figuring out how to keep track. And of course, a note block and a pen would do the trick at first. Then there was OneNote, and yes, I did use a note block and pen before there even was OneNote. I am aging. But I found another method that I have seen colleagues and peers and customers starting to pick up on. So I wanted to share this with you. So this is a really simple task sequence to begin with to deploy Windows 10 1903. And this is what we have. So let's call this our production task sequence for Windows 10 1903. If I then move on to Windows 10 1909, without changing too much, the one thing that will most definitely change is the version of the operating system that we're deploying, right? So which will be 1909 in this example. The thing I do is I add a little mark. In this case, it's this right pointing arrow in my language. And I will share the symbols that I use as an example only. This means that it has simply, or I have simply incremented the version being implemented. That's a really simple example. Now, if you take this to the next level and you want to really do some versioning of task sequences, then this is something else that I do. Let's open these two. Put this here. So guys, remember to use the tip that Tom just shared, control scroll. If you want to zoom in, I will share this in a blog that I'm still writing. Should be live tomorrow. So a couple of other things that I've done. This is a development task sequence, one that I'm still working on. I'm using an exclamation mark, which means, hey, meaning addressing me, you need to look back into this because there's something with this step. Maybe you need to remove this later on, or maybe you need to check what this is doing, right? This is a known password that I'm using. I want to get rid of that in a production task sequence, want it to be a generic one. Stuff like that. Here's another one. Really easy, an exclamation mark. Make it more complex. I've added a question mark saying, we need to think about what we can do with this, okay? Look at it later and decide on what to do. I've added something in this version of the task sequence. I've added a plus. I've disabled something, and instead of just deleting it, I actually keep it there, put it on disabled, and add a minus before it, and then write something in the description. And you can do other stuff, and this is just me giving you examples. I use an asterisk if there's been a change since the previous version, which again, I document in the description, or I use, there's this, and then there's the lowercase v that I use if I've moved steps up or down, stuff like this. And this is just for development, production. I will write this all in a blog. I will be sharing it with you as of tomorrow, and I'll share with Greg and everyone else where it's at, what URL it's at. I hope this is useful for you, and do give me feedback. Do feel free to improve on this. Thanks.
You very much.
You're welcome.
It's a nice little trick.
Thanks. Hey, cool.
Another tip, potentially worthy of another laptop.
Hey, who knows? So I've understood that you would fly over and present it to me in person.
That can probably be arranged.
Okay, so I don't know if there's any flights within Belgium at the moment, but we can try.
I can fly over ground.
Let's do that.
So I think our next tipster is Paul.
Oh, Paul, me? Okay. All right. I got a couple. I'm getting lost in my windows here. Give me a second. So I got a couple extensions that I created within the CM console. And one I actually demoed at MMS Jazz Edition, but everyone wasn't there, so I thought I'd show it again here. And the other one's kind of an in progress, but it's good enough for demo purposes, and I just wanted to see if people actually have interest in something like that too. So here's the first one that I created, is for numbering task sequences. So you got your task sequence here, and I think a lot of us have cried for getting numbers of all these steps within your task sequence so you can jump right to a number. So I created a little extension using the FNadmin's little blog posting on how to do that. So we can write task sequence numbers or step numbers to this task sequence. So now if I go back in here, it's got a number for every single step within this task sequence. And then all the groups have the first and last step in that group. And it corresponds to how a task sequence executes. So how a group would execute as a step, and then the end of the group executes as a step. So you can actually use these to correspond directly to the logging for the step numbers. So I've done that in my production environment for the last year here now, and that's got several hundred steps in the task sequence. You can also remove the step numbers if you don't like what you see. So that's the one extension. The next one that's kind of a work in progress but works for the basics is a simulator. So I know there's the debugger that is out there that's still, I think, a pre-release feature. And it's nice to step through the task sequence, but one thing I always ran into was wanting to step through my steps before I actually launched the task sequence. And that was mainly for reasons of issues with, with logic and stuff, whether, if a step fails, what do I do on the next step? Or what happens to the next step? So I created a little Windows PowerShell form here. And it'll number out all your task sequences. It'll show you or number all the steps in your task sequence, show you all your variables. And that's the piece in progress. I'm going to hopefully populate variables and have it do conditions, work on variables. But my thought with this was that launching the debugger takes more time, and you got to have a VM alongside, when you could just launch this from the console and step through. And so you can process your steps. Oh, right there, I just did it wrong, so let's reset here. So you'd start your simulation and then process through the group steps. And then you'd say, okay, step exited 0, exited 0, exited 0. And let's say the apply operating step failed with a 55 error code or something silly like that. It's going to throw an error out, and then it's going to start skipping steps until it gets to a point where it says, okay, that previous group failed, but it said continue on error after that group. So then it gets to the next step that would actually run. And so you can continue through your steps until the end. And then let's just say this one failed. I'm hitting the wrong keyboard here, which is kind of funny. So then that one would fail, and I think at this point, this current task sequence would just continue to the end. So for me, it was something that I always had trouble with processing my steps and figuring out my logic. So I thought it was something fun to learn forms with and build out. So I don't know if anyone thinks that's interesting or useful or not, but that's what I got.
Let's just ask if people find this interesting. Teams has this raise hand feature.
Oh yeah.
If you think this is interesting, let's give Paul a show of who thinks this is interesting and wants to see this move forward.
Is any of this, oh, there you go. Is this publicly available yet?
Yeah, this is on my GitHub repo, the very base version here. And the numbering task sequence, I've got a blog post on it as well.
Seems quite a lot of people think it's interesting.
See those hands, Paul? Get to work.
All right.
And can you paste those URLs into the chat?
Yes, I will do that.
That goes for all future presenters as well. If you have a blog or a GitHub or anything to share from your tip, please put it in the chat so that we can collect it later on.
Round of applause for Paul.
Very nice.
And next up is Ryan E. Ryan E.
Ryan Halfgrave.
Halfgrave. E.
Yeah, whatever. Ryan, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Just was going over to share my screen. I'll put a link. Oh, where'd the meeting go? It's up there on the screen. So my tip's going to be centered around SQL as well, kind of like Garth. I'm going to show you how we query SQL at Big Bank on my team, because what we do is we use a product called Entity Framework to query SQL, and there was no way to do this in PowerShell, so I built a PowerShell module and released it like 4 or 5 months ago. And this is the module we use in Big Bang to do all of our SQL, or do a lot of our SQL work. Or at least I did like all of our SQL migrations and stuff like that with, or our config manager migration stuff with it. So I just have some, I'm just going to show you how it works. I just set the SQL server and the SQL database. And then I tell it where do I want my context stored. And then what you do ahead of time with Entity Framework, and Entity Framework is like a 15-year-old technology that Microsoft has built, and it has millions of followings. If you use Stack Overflow, that runs on that runs a lot on Entity Framework. So it's really big. It's just never been in PowerShell before. So the idea behind Entity Framework is you tell it ahead of time what you want to query, what data you want to get back. You model out basically your database in memory, or at least the stuff you want to query, and then you can query it in your code very easily. So I've completely automated that part for you. All you have to do is you say, hey, I want to do, this command tells it, hey, I want to do a SQL query, or I want to model a SQL database. I tell it the SQL database I want to model. I tell it where I want to store the model. And I told it overwrite because I've run this a few times. And then I say, hey, I want to query the view v collections. So I'm going to load up the view v collections. And I also want to query the function v list application CIs. But because it's a function, I need to give it a parameter. I'm going to give it kind of, this is how you query it. I tell it ahead of time, hey, this is how you query this thing. Then I load up the context I just made. Here's the context file. You can change your server information at runtime. So if you can build your context ahead of time and then target different databases as long as the database is the same, or target different database servers. So I just load that up, and then I can start doing queries. So here I'm going to search collections for all systems. And I told it to do a verbose log so I can see the query it's running. And as you can see down here, what it did is it took this PowerShell expression and converted it on the fly to a SQL query where p collection name equals all systems. If my collection is stored inside a variable, I can put that in also using this code. That's also going to do the collection all systems. I can do wildcards, collection name like all systems. I can even get a little fancy here. What I can do here is this query looked to see what are all the collections that are limited to basically all systems, which it's going to be, I think there's 10. And then what I can do is I can say, this is actually something I used a lot in our migrations, finding all of the children of a parent collection. And this is the start of how you do that. I just say, hey, all of the, I have an array of all the collections. So this is going to be 10 collection names. And what I want to do is I want to say if the thing that I'm querying shows up in these results of 10, return it. That SQL query actually translates correctly. It says where limit to collection name is in, and it's the array of these collections. And then I have even more results. And this got 73 results back pretty quickly from SQL. I can also query my function, which is just select star from here. And I can query my function using all of the actual queries where I can say, hey, where p.displayName equals AA. It'll still do that with those functions. Then on top of that, this is not on the SCCM side, but if you wanted to, you could also create databases with this stuff. So I have here a table. Well, this is a PowerShell class, my tracking table. I just I just say, hey, here's my context file. I'm going to do SQLite. This module supports SQLite and MS SQL. And then I load up I load it up. I tell it I'm going to build this context. I'm going to build this file, and ensure created says, hey, if this doesn't exist, create it and create the database. As we can see down here, created the table. And then you can, add entries real quick to it. You can get results back. You can search. You can edit. You can do all the normal SQL stuff. And that's it.
All right.
Oh, it was easy. Okay.
That's easy. He threw that together one night.
Just in time. All right. Nice work, Ryan. Next one up is another Ryan. Ryan H, another MMS regular.
Yeah, until this year.
Well,
We're all in the same boat.
I know.
Well, socially distancing.
yeah, boat. I haven't seen a boat in ages.
All right, so I use the status message queries a lot for monitoring task sequences. But one of the issues I have is when we're doing a bunch of new unknown devices, they get these generic names, and I get a tech that tells me whatever device had an issue. Sometimes it's hard to figure it out which one it is in the status query. So in my task sequences, I started adding a step after the name is given that just writes host, the read-only name, which is the one we saw in the status query, and then the one I'm setting for the actual computer name. And then when we actually do it, please work for the computer name. I started doing PowerShell. It's a little slower, but it gives results. The command line prompt that I've been using doesn't always give me the information back that I want. But then if we go back to the status message query, and then look at it, right here is where we can see where it has the generic one and then the actual computer name in it. And it just makes troubleshooting a little easier without always diving into the logs. I can kind of then use a filter onto this name and try to find the error and maybe give them some advice on what the issue is. And just a simple step that I do that helps keep me sane when we have hundreds of new devices being imaged and squeaky techs that don't like to troubleshoot.
I think that's what this is about, right? So these little things that you can easily implement and that will, make your life easier.
It's a perfect tip and trick, and we actually have a special jingle for those.
That's life-altering goodness.
All right, well done.
Thank you.
Who's next, Kim?
Next one
I
up.
don't think so. I think that's her friend. That's my friend.
Oh, really? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Next one up is Andrew.
That's me. Andrew Jimenez, correct? I don't know if there's multiple.
Well,
that's you.
I definitely have. I have an Andrew
Awesome.
J, which tweets as Andrew Jimenez. So I assume that's you. Yes. Go.
That is me. Cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, cool. I'm going to show this utility I found when troubleshooting MSI installs, wi logutil.exe. This tool, it comes in the Windows SDK component installer. You actually have to go find the Windows 7 one. Apparently it's not included anymore, even though it links directly to it. But if you download the Windows 7 SDK and open it up, this tool actually opens up and parses MSI logs, verbose MSI logs. And if you've seen a verbose MSI log, it's kind of unreadable. Just huge swaths of text that don't mean anything at all. So this tool actually takes that, and you can hit analyze on it, and it'll actually tell you if there was an error, whether or not what the error was, what solutions you can actually do to fix the error. You can also hit HTML log, and it'll actually pull up the log in an HTML page. You can hit like next error. This one doesn't have any error. Yes, I will be posting a link to that. Let me open one that actually has an error. I'm going to close it. And I have a failed MSI here. So this is a failed MSI log. And it tells you exactly right here what the error was. This was the Patch My PC MSI actually, and I installed it on something that's not a server. And so it popped up and said, hey, you need RStat installed. It gives you a possible solution as to why it failed. Then I'll open up the log, and you can hit next error. It takes you directly to that error in the log and tells you exactly why it failed. I'll post the link to that and the link to the actual Windows 7 SDK installer that I found it in. It actually is, once you install the SDK, it's under Microsoft SDKs, Windows 7.1, bin, and there it is. This is the same kind of thing you have to do to get Orca as well, I think. It's in one of these weird folders in here. And that's it.
That's, again, really nice. Another perfect example of a tip and trick that will make a lot of lives easier there.
We're on a roll.
That's life-altering goodness.
That was great.
Before we continue with our next tip and trick, we want to attempt something new here, and we actually want to set a world record.
Before we go to the world record, somebody has to pay for this 3,300 laptop. So let's go for commercials first. No commercials? All right. All right. For the world record, you want to explain how that's?
I have no idea what you want to do.
Okay. So everybody's been practicing, because I tweeted everybody's been practicing their digital eye-hands coordination, right? We're going to try and set a world record. I know a lot of people haven't been to sports stadiums all over the world in the last couple of weeks and months. But if you go to a sports stadium, every once in a while, if the home team typically does well, you see something going through the stadium. Yes, Gart, that's it. The wave, right? And I was told that the very first wave was actually done in Minnesota. So it's perfect occasion to do the very first virtual wave, all right? So we're gonna do a virtual wave using the raise hand feature in Teams. And we're gonna start East Coast, West Coast, Europe and Africa, Asia and Australia. And every one of those locations gets 4 seconds, okay? East Coast 4 seconds, West Coast 4 seconds, Europe and Asia 4 seconds, Europe and Africa 4 seconds, Asia 4 seconds, and Australia 4 seconds. A second, that's 1 Mississippi, all right? All right. We're gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi.
I see some hands
4
raising.
Mississippi.
Go, go, go.
West Coast, you're up. East Coasters, lower that hand.
We're using the hands feature in Teams, people. Come on.
Europe, Africa, you're it. Asia, you're up. Do we have anybody from Australia? You're closing out the wave. Done. Awesome.
Woo-hoo!
We've set a new world record. The jury has confirmed the results. Amazing.
Woohoo!
If has ever attempted this will help, I assume.
Applause to everybody.
You know, Kim, I thought you were going to do this in together mode. I thought, because I saw Garth on the screen go up and down, so we could all just do the wave right there.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be able to set the world record because that has been done before.
Ah, I didn't know.
Nobody has done a virtual wave with the raise hands feature. So we've set the world record. Now
Everybody can lower their hands again so we can use.
we're not going to make you presenters, and no, you cannot comment. Our next presenter, though, is Robert Dazzle. Robert, are you ready?
If you're talking, you're on mute.
Now that I look, I'm not sure that I see him. Let me look again here real quick. Yep, I think we move on.
Move on.
Ping me, Robert, if you're there. I don't see
Wait,
you.
Robert Stein, right?
Yeah, I'm here, but my team's having Teams issues.
Oh, there he is. Welcome, Robert.
Where?
Still having Teams
network issues.
Okay, we'll
circle back.
We'll move along and circle back. That means Ben, you're up.
Hey everybody. Caught me off guard there. Cool. Let me share out. You guys got me okay?
See Reg at it.
Happy days. We're going to be in the registry today. So my name is Ben Whitmore. You'll find me on ByteBen on Twitter. It's a really quick tip, really. Something we noticed when we were deploying Windows 10 to our users. The first login experience was a bit hit and miss when people were trying to access OneDrive. So I've got a blog, so I'll share a link out afterwards. Essentially what happens with Windows 10, you get the OneDrive setup client baked in. And for each new user that logs on to Windows, they run the OneDrive client. And then the OneDrive client has to download an update. And it takes a pretty long while before the user is able to log into OneDrive. So what we've done is, as many of you have done, is deployed the OneDrive /all users, which installs into kind of system mode. But what happens is when you install OneDrive with your user switch, you still have the baked-in OneDrive trying to do its thing when the user logs in as well. So a quick tip is just to remove that legacy setting from the registry so the two aren't fighting. So if we just jump into the registry and load the default user hive. So if we go into Microsoft Windows, current version, and look under the run key, this is the legacy registry key that comes with Windows. So if you're going to deploy OneDrive with your users switch, delete this guy. So you can do it manually or you can script it. I've got it in my blog, a script that'll delete that, the default user hive, and we deploy that with a task sequence. So remove this because when you install OneDrive with your users switch, it also runs this, and the two can kind of grapple. The OneDrive engine's got better. The two do talk to each other better than they did before, but you will still end up with your users when they first log in, trying to download an update to OneDrive, and the binaries get installed into their user profile, and nobody likes to manage binaries and user profiles. So that is my very quick tip. Don't forget to unload the hive once you've finished.
Thank you very much.
Nice one, Ben.
Very nice.
Robert, are you ready for a second attempt, or you want a few more minutes?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. My Teams was not cooperating. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, let me share. Oh, wow. It's like running 5 minutes behind everything. Okay, so my tip is basically the not so secret documentation.
It's very secret now. We don't see a share.
I know because my Teams is like waiting.
Okay.
It's maybe I should come back.
Do you wanna Do you want to like reboot your machine and we skip you for the
Yeah,
next?
yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Then it's up to Rudy B.
See you in a minute, Robert.
Okay.
Rudy B.
All right. So 1 second, let me share here. Can everyone see me okay here?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So if
Your
you've seen
screen,
any
see
tips
you.
from me before, I tend to deep dive into stuff. Today is a simple Windows tip, might be the shortest one ever. So it's interactive. What I want everyone to do, go into your chat window, click in that empty space next to type a new message. I'm going to change your life. I was yesterday years old when I learned about this, and I thought it was really cool. Hold down the Windows key and the period. And if you do the Windows key and the period, you get an emoji selector thing that's built into Windows. I think they added this in either 1709 or 1803.
1709 it is.
Yeah, so you got your flying cat. Everyone pick out your favorite emoji and put it in there. The reason this was important to me was because where I'm at, we're rolling out Teams, and they literally wanted to block everything fun, and I'm like, you can't take my emoji keyboard. So this works in just about everything. You can go into a Word document, put an emoji in it, Jabber if you use that, Teams, and y'all are having a blast with it, so that's really good to see.
We're probably set world record on emojis.
Right? So you have your built-in ones on Teams, but then you just do Windows key period, and you get whatever you want. So with that, I will take you to my favorite IT emoji, which is the 2 clinking beer mugs because we all like beer. And we'll do a quick cheers to that, and we can move on to learning something else great. Well played. That's my tip.
We took a head start on the happy hour following this.
Hey, it's 10:30. Well, 10:48.
It's a really nice tip, and I know it was 1709, and I know it kind of looks funny, but this is stuff that helps convince your users to move to new versions. It might be silly as hell, but it definitely works.
So
Great
show of hands. Who was today years old when they learned this?
I actually learned that by reading the what's new for end users on 1709.
That's not. You learned it because I told you it was in 1709.
Whatever, because you read it and told me.
All right, thanks everyone.
So is Robert back with us? Ready for another attempt? If not, it's Sean B. That's up next.
Let's go to Sean first and give Robert
Another few minutes.
not a few minutes to calm down.
All right. Well, that means unfortunately I've got to follow the emoji guy, and that's just going to be painful.
Big shoes.
So for those of you who don't know me, which is probably pretty much everyone, my name is Sean Bulger. I started blogging late last year under Managed Blog. And so my goal for 2020 was to get more involved and do some presentations and whatnot. And 2020 was the worst year ever for that. My blog has been a little silent for the last few months while I've been finishing my basement. But I did want to get on today. I've got a really basic, quick, simple trick. A lot of you may already be doing this, but I'm kind of surprised at the number of people I talk to who don't. So what I'm going to show you today is just kind of how I manage updates, and it's using a really simple, basic thing, the empty collection. Almost all of us have way too many collections available to us inside of Config Manager. And the last thing any of us need are extra empty collections. In this case, the first collection I've made in every single Config Manager environment I've stood up myself has been an empty collection. The reason being is it really helps to keep you from doing something stupid. So the empty collection is basically just what it looks like. It's an empty collection. It's targeted on all systems. The only membership rule on it, the only membership rule I actually have on this is to exclude all systems. So it's all systems, but excluding all systems. This means I can't accidentally deploy updates to servers or something else without meaning to. So where do I use an empty collection? And the place that I use the empty collection is inside of my ADR rules. So if I've got any ADR rules that I know I want to download as soon as they're available, I go ahead and my deployment setting is just to point those to an empty collection. What this means is, say on my Patch Tuesday updates, 5 p.m. on Patch Tuesday, I download the updates. And then I can come in here kind of at my leisure after you've all had the chance to install the updates in your environments, break them, and blog about everything that was bad. I can go through and pull updates out. I can see what's already been superseded, and everything's already downloaded as soon as I want to go ahead and deploy it. So when I'm actually going through my updates here, all I'll do is I will just come in. I just change my collection, just like we would for any other phase deployment. And then I just walk through the different phases that I've got, which are all concentric. But everything is really built around that empty collection. That's it. It's nothing really difficult. Really simple, really basic, but it's a great way to make sure that your patches are downloading. You know, this works for obviously your Patch Tuesday updates. I've also got it in here for my servicing plans. So if obviously right now I've only got a test servicing plan here, but this way my Windows 10 updates or my feature updates are all downloaded when I want to be able to go deploy them. I don't have to go searching for them. And then I get my update groups in here, and they all start obviously with that empty collection deployment. So thank you. I know that one was really simple. And it wasn't as cool as emojis, but one that I find really helpful.
It's a good idea. Show of hands of people that accidentally deployed something to a collection that they shouldn't have.
You want to share a few stories, Kim?
No, thank you very much. I still have sleepless nights over those. All right.
You know, I got a follow up to that. We've been doing that one in production ourselves at Big Bank. And I used to actually give each team their own empty collection. And then when I rebuilt CM, I thought, why am I doing that? Just have one, right? Just like Sean did. And mind-blowingly, the ops team comes up with the most insane idea. Like they started making collections limited to the empty collection. What is that going to do? What are you doing? I'm trying to get rid of collections, and you just made another one that can't possibly ever get another member in it. It has no value. Well, we just didn't want to step on that one. We weren't sure what it's for, but we liked the idea.
It's great because then you can prove how infinitesimally small 0 really is.
Yeah.
How many groups of 0 can you have?
Pretty funny. I was blown away. It's like, you seriously did that, huh?
Nice. I think well, we can circle back to Robert, I believe. Although Ryan still, Sean deserves a round of applause, obviously, on top of his chance of winning a great laptop. Robert, are you ready for us?
Hope we've not lost them all together now. That's a 1 in 15 chance for a laptop.
Where is he?
You asked him to reboot. He might not be back yet.
You might need a new laptop.
If you follow him on Twitter, he might have went to his neighbor's mailbox and tried to take care of business over there. But
all right. So if Robert isn't back yet, we have Joseph Vartanian next.
Yeah, I didn't get confirmation if Joseph's here. Let's see. And Amit. I don't know if Amit ever joined.
I think we still have indeed Joseph, Robert, and Amit in the queue.
Yep.
If they're here.
Okay, we got a little time, Brian. We want to open up, see if anybody else has anything they want to share.
You guys seen how this goes by now? You might have just built up enough confidence to say, I'm going to whip something up here off the fly and show you something, because guess what? You could win $3,000.
Let's see.
Looks like Ryan.
Robert is back. Can anyone hear me?
Oh,
having
there
a
he
bad
is.
Teams day.
There he
All right,
is.
Robert.
Waiting for you,
Having
Robert.
a bad Teams day. So guess what? Teams used to say that it would not do those cool backgrounds on my computer, and it still won't.
You don't need cool backgrounds. You got the cool MMS shirt on.
I know, but oh my God, everything is. Let me see if I can. I don't think it's going to let me present. It is just soaking up my CPU. You know what? I may have to just save this for next time with a different computer.
Sure, you want to give it a second attempt because you might get a different computer.
I know. That's the sad thing. I think my 10-year-old Mac works better than this thing. Trying to click share. This is actually the one I won at Jazz, so it's only an i3. This is from Patch My PC. You know what? It's not even.
Told you we were gonna go for commercials.
Yeah, there you go. There's your patch. There's your commercial for Patch My PC. They gave me a free computer, but it's only
Actually,
an i3.
The folks from Patch My PC are trying to help you out in chat about a
That's right.
resolution.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
It's just, oh my. It is just not responding, so.
Maybe it doesn't like having your video on.
Yeah, I could try that too.
Disable your
Yeah, drop your video.
altogether.
I think.
I didn't even see his video from mine.
Oh, I did.
Strange.
Oh, wow. It's like everything I do is like delayed by 5 minutes. That's the problem.
We'll do the next one on Google Meet.
Something
Oh.
changed. There we go.
Something sharing. Okay.
Quick.
Quick. Okay. So here's the other error I found. Someone reported. It was a coexistence error. Wow, it is really just everything slow. First on secret documentation, even though this is the error, this is actually how the feature is known. But this was no help, so on. So ended up with the documentation. Can anyone, am I still on? It's hard to tell.
Yep.
I see your browser.
Okay. So, come on. Wow. Here's the official documentation on coexistence. Oh, which I've clicked on 6 times.
Uh-oh.
Okay, the answer was not here, but I clicked here, view all page, which takes you to GitHub. And this is where I promised Brian and Aaron part of, they each get a third of the laptop if I win. Brian said, hey, I've had this error before and it's not documented what to do with it. And maybe you guys don't want to document it, but hey, this fixed it for me. And I went to the link that Brian presented and I didn't have to do all this because I didn't have AirWatch, but this one command line fixed it. Not in the official documentation yet. That's why I call it the super secret view all page feedback. And it's also, if I have one, let me just click one more link if I can. I had another issue with Intune where I was trying to send an email notification from Intune, and the test notification would not send. You go in here and you click send test, but it was not documented what rights you need to do this. So I opened a ticket with Microsoft, and I got tired of waiting for them because they gave me the wrong answer. I went here.
That would be a first.
Well, they initially gave me the wrong year. Then I found this, send preview not documented. And that was the first hit. And then even though they'd closed it, I said, what permissions are required? And guess what? They got me the answer, the exact answer, quicker than the ticket I opened. And they even updated the documentation. But it's now documented in the not secret documentation for all to see.
You got credit for it?
I don't think so, but there it is. So there you go. Not so secret documentation and not so secret way to open a ticket with Microsoft.
Cool.
Thank you. Sorry for my team's troubles.
You made it. Do we have anybody else want to do some last minute tips and tricks? Or we're running out of time, Greg?
I got one.
Yeah.
We made her the and she walks in at happy hour with gifts.
That's nice.
No, we've
Was
got
it on
time
a
for one more.
segue?
If somebody. Oh, yeah. We got
Yeah, there are
time
a
if
couple
somebody
hands
wants
up.
to try.
Is Josh or James, one of you guys have a tip, or you just stretching your arms?
I had a tip.
All right, go for it. Josh, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think I need to be
I'll make you
accessed to
presenter.
sharing.
Yep. You have been promoted.
That's set up right now. All right, so thanks. A lot of great tips so far. I've learned a lot, been taking a lot of notes, and mine's a quick one, kind of along the same lines as Andrew's as far as MSIs. Some vendors, their installs, while they mean well, can be problematic. Sometimes getting support is also problematic. So sometimes you have to dive into the MSI to see what's going on. Sometimes you can use like 7-zip to extract. Sometimes it doesn't work so well. There's a tool called Less MSI. Scott Willicke is the creator of it, along with a few others. I'll also have this URL in the chat here in a second. But what you do, download the tool. There's a GUI, there's a command line as well. Launch the GUI. You simply point it to your MSI. I'm going to use Teams, for example. It's kind of there's not much in this one actually, but if I'll click open, it shows you the files. You say extract. Of course, with Teams, it's just an exe and a JSON file, but it's just a quick way to just open up the content of the MSI. If I select a different installer here, the Sim Explorer from Microsoft, let's open that. And here I can actually see the install and the uninstall PowerShell files they're using within that MSI they've bundled up together. So if I was running into installation problems, I could sit there and you see it creates a nice folder for it. And I could see that, where it's bombing out or maybe having some issues, start a conversation with maybe get that issue escalated with the vendor to see why it's not installing, or maybe I can fix that myself, either repackage it up together and get that software properly installed, or maybe uninstalled if that's the case. That's my tip. And there's some more advanced cases with it, but a lot of times you want to crack it open. That's a quick way to do it. And I will paste that in the chat window. So thank you.
Nice one, Josh.
All right. How about Jonathan Caserta?
Yeah, hi. I don't really have something to show. I'll sort of explain what I've just been dealing with. We were having an issue with 1909 and group policy coming down, and apparently this is a big issue with Microsoft because if your third-party antivirus doesn't turn off Windows Defender, there's something that started in 1903 with called tamper-proof, which made it impossible to change the registry. So if your group policy is turning off Windows Defender, your group policy then will go, no, you're not allowed to do that, and it makes it so your group policy doesn't work. So if you run into a problem where your group policy is not actually coming down on 1903 plus, make sure your third-party antivirus is actually turning off Windows Defender, or you will not get policy. This came to light because we have PKI certs coming down for the configuration manager, and it wasn't coming down because group policy was not just broken. So that's my little tip.
Nice.
Nice one. We actually run into the same thing, another question.
Okay. Let's see. Brian, do you think we have time for any more, or we want to wrap this part up?
I think it's time to wrap it up.
All right. We can do that.
That means Tom can go and get another bottle of wine?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Tom can
All
get and start serving his next bottle of wine. Yep.
That's
So
a rookie
let's
mistake
see.
to not have it aerating already. Should had it at a decanter a while ago. That's my tip.
That's a good tip. Let me share screen.
So we're now rolling a dice on who wins that laptop?
We're gonna roll some virtual dice. They're not fancy though. So I think this is the list I have here of tipsters. If you tipped and you don't see your name on that list, speak up quickly. Otherwise, we're gonna roll the dice and
You're doing a
see.
PowerShell random?
Yeah,
You,
we're gonna
you
try
know
that.
it's biased towards uneven numbers, right?
Oh, all right. Well, good for uneven number of people, right?
Even number.
Oh, even numbered. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna go up one more, and I'm gonna hit the button. Oh, sorry, Amit. No luck, Amit. 12.
Oh.
So, how about that? Even. 9. Ben W. Bye, Ben. Congratulations.
Man, congratulations.
No way. Cheers,
There's
guys.
a cheer.
That's amazing.
Cheers,
That
Ben.
is wonderful.
I feel like I should strip off or something, but I'm not going to.
we do expect the victory speech, though, Ben.
Oh, well, I just want to thank my manager and my makeup artist and
World peace. Go for world peace.
no, thank you guys for what you do. That's amazing. I never entered this to expect to win anything. I just love what you do with the community, and I love being a part of it. This is just icing on the cake for me this evening. I'm going to go and have another beer. Thank you ever so much.
Yes.
Cheers, Ben.
Congrats. We're happy
And
to
cheers,
have you
everybody.
here. That's right. So now's the time we transition. I think some people are going to hang out. I don't know. Let's see, Kim and Tom, if you guys are able to hang out for a little while. We know it's getting a little late there.
Stay for a while.
All right, cool. All right, well, I'm going to go get a drink, and I will be right back. But you all talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, we can stop that recording too, Brian.
Cheers, everyone.